This is the regular meeting of the Bethany Board of Finance being held on June 11th, 2024, starting at 6:38 p.m. For the board, we have Martha Azarisi, Katie Erickson, Sally Heiser, and Sharon Huxley Chair. We have a quorum. In addition, we have Lauren Cable recording for us. We have Jen Capasso running our Zoom, and she'll also be sharing some HR information. We have our town attorney, Vin Marino, and we have our director of public works, Don Shea. So the first item on the agenda is the review. Oh, wait a minute, excuse me. To everybody in the, I don't know, when I'm sitting over there, I call them the cheap seats, but I know they're not. It's not. Oh, we have our finance director on via Zoom. Leslie, hello. Leslie is out on medical leave. So we have a sheet here if you're going to speak, because we'll let, as soon as we deal with the minutes, I'll ask to add a public comment section to the agenda, and then you can speak for up to 3 minutes, no longer, and please put your name address on that sheet because Lauren's going to need it for the record. Okay. Everybody good with that? All right, so let's see if we can get the minutes out of the way. First, the May meeting. So we had Huxley, Azarisi, Heiser, and Erickson. We're all here. Anyone? The minutes? Oh, from May?
Sorry. Yes, I move to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's approved. Then for the May 20th meeting, this would be the special meeting that immediately followed the town meeting. Present were Huxley, Azarisi, Heiser, and Lars Demander. We're going to need to table this to later so that Lars can vote on it. We need four people who were at that meeting. Okay, so I'd like a motion and now to please add right now a public comment session to our agenda. Could I have a motion?
Okay. I'll second.
Right. Discussion.
When did you want to have that?
Right now.
Like, oh.
Yeah, before we start any of the rest of the business. Okay, so who signed up first? Okay.
Eric Frieden, 13 Coach Mine. I know we're going to be talking about the MSW recycle recommendations. I just want to ask one question. I've probably read hundreds of articles over the course of the last 3 or 4 years about single stream recycling.
Is it recording it?
Both in mainstream media and trade journals and technical journals.
Mhm.
And probably the most optimistic is challenging. The least optimistic is it's catastrophic. So what I want to know from you is, could you provide me the resources that you're all using to determine that this is currently an environment that we want to get into?
I think, with all due respect, that's perhaps something that you could probably ask the DEP people. This board has not been involved in discussions with any of the professionals. It's been our professionals talking to solid waste and recycling people. Believe me, we've had a lot of conversations with DEP since the town meeting. Okay, because I mean, they reached out to us, so. This board have the information coming from the people who have done the research. Okay. Okay. Does anyone disagree with that? Okay, all right. Bruce, are you the next person? Okay.
Bethany has lost focus as to what the reason we're supposed to recycle is. We're supposed to recycle to preserve the environment, preserve natural resources, and stretch the life of our fragile landfills.
Mhm.
If we're going to, Bethany is focused right now on technically meeting state statute. And the people who want to do curbside single stream recycling are going to make us part of the problem instead of part of the solution. If you want to make us meet the statute and do curbside pickup, do dual stream, taking glass out. Glass is the contaminant. If we collect automatically 25% of our recyclables become trash, and we have just added to the problem. So either leave it, go dual stream, but don't go single stream. And I heard a rumor we might run parallel programs with the recycle center and curbside. And that's just economically irresponsible. And if you do a curbside single stream, you're still adding to the problem.
Thank you. Is anyone else on the list? No, please.
Hi, everybody. Steve Wyman, 11 Ocean. So I really haven't gone to these meetings before, but I went to the initial budget meeting and it was quite contentious with all the people expressing stuff about recycling and trash pickup. And from what I've heard and doing some reading and so forth and so on, it just seems like it's a very complicated issue. And I hate to talk about something that I don't have a real solution, because I don't have a real solution, but my suggestion to the board, if it's whatever it's worth, is that, rather than making a quick, hasty decision to say, let's get big buckets, let's get small buckets, let's do single stream, let's work. I think we should leave everything status quo. We have a very, very nice recycling center. I compliment the people who run it. I've been there many times. They do a great job. I think we should leave that center open and available to everybody. In the meantime, have the town continue to collect the trash the way we're collecting it. I would also add that RWS, although they do a great job picking up the trash, they pick up a lot of recycling. And I would, since we pay them to pick up the trash and they're not supposed to pick up the recycling, and whenever I walk around in my small little neighborhood and there's boxes and there's recyclables in plain view, it all gets picked up. So I would also make the suggestion that whoever is in charge of keeping an eye on RWS, you get some complaints if we left that recycling stuff in front of that house. But after leaving it one or two times, I think that household would realize they need to bring it to the recycling center. So bottom line is, and I'll just end to say, I really think we should leave things status quo and do some real research and come up with an answer, a solution that the people here in Bethany would support. Rather than just saying, okay, people, here's what we're gonna do, with a lot of people not agreeing with.
Thank you. Is anyone else on?
Hi, I'm Jennifer De Palma, 86 Downs Road. So, and this is my fiance here. We just moved to town and I love the recycling center. When I went there, I was like, this is such a difference from the New Haven dump, it was just amazing. And when I came to the budget approval hearing because I wanted to get involved in this and voice my opinion that I want to keep the recycling center as it is. I really agree with Keith. Taking our time to, do thorough research. I'm an engineer by profession and I don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction, on things. And although I haven't been involved in, as much as what's going on, we just bought the house, it's a lot going on, but I think we need to take a moment and, think about what we're doing here and whether, I've heard from other people who have done research and contacted the DP that the single stream recycling is kind of antiquated and it's not, now that China's not taking the recyclables anymore, it's not as useful as it was before 2018, I think it was. So, I'm in favor of keeping it as it is with the trash pickup and recycling center as it is now.
Thank you.
Jamie Sterling, 20 Miller Road. want to first thank all the members of the finance board for serving. It's a lot of work. You're one of the most technical boards that has the most time committed to it. I'm delighted to see that the recyclables have been reinstated in the proposed line items that you will be voting on tonight. That's about $130,000 to keep our recycling center open, based on the approach that it had. I think it's, I note that the 213,601, which you'll also be voting on tonight, is for reinstating the curbside single stream. And I think that it's great that this town elected members are willing to invest in a robust waste reduction and recycling, appropriate recycling program. And a vote tonight to reinstate that money would do that. However, there's no reason we need to choose the one bid that we received to effectively go July 1. Because it is a new program, we could go out to bid again for that service. We could look at alternatives. We could look at smaller bins. And as folks said earlier, keeping glass out of the single stream is a great way to reduce the contamination, which under the DEEP website talks about up to 30% of single stream recyclables get contaminated by glass and then get pushed to a landfill. There are towns that DEEP highlights that we could emulate. Mansfield is one. If you look at their approach, they have a limited curbside pickup. They choose not to pick up glass. Glass is then taken to the recycling center, and I would add cardboard. Cardboard and clear glass are actually valuable commodities that we currently pay nothing to have taken away, and we may actually earn money if we look at it. So we don't have to go July 1. We could see a curbside pickup if you put money in that we look at September or October after studying it with the town. And we might be able to do it for less than the 213,000 and less than a large 96-gallon bin by excluding glass and most cardboard. I encourage DEEP to come to our town and talk to us at our town meeting, because I think DEEP will tell us that the way to reduce taxes here and the goal of the state is to lower the amount of municipal solid waste, as well as be responsible with our recycling. We can do both. And probably, even if you reinstate the $213,000 tonight and that gets submitted to the town meeting, we may be able to get a contract for less, reducing our taxes and being a standout town for how we're handling waste, rather than a town where citizens are complaining about the approach that this administration is taking. I would support that, and I hope that you all will too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else on that list?
No. Is there anyone online? We have to ask them.
Yes, I was going to do that. So Jen, would you ask? I guess I
You can
can.
just say it and then they can raise their hand.
Is there anyone online who would like to make a 3-minute or less statement? Please raise your hand. Did anyone do that? Going once? Going twice?
I would like to say something. Can you hear me?
Let's identify yourself for just.
Hi. Excuse me, Mark Scott, 49 Tuttle Court here in Bethany. Am I good? You hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
we can.
good. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the comments. I'm in line with most of the comments made. Recycling is really important for the town and just for the environment in general. It is a complicated matter. There are a lot of options. I think rushing in is just could potentially make things worse. I think with some due diligence on the part of the town and people that know things, I think we can come up with a really good system. I think what was put forward by the Bethany Sustainment Committee, or whatever the right name is a pretty good option that should be looked at as kind of a hybrid approach. Keeps the recycle center going. Glass and cardboard is a good thing to recycle. It's easy to recycle. And also it's kind of people that don't want to take advantage of it will have to pay something for the extra containers. Those that take a strong advantage of it save themselves some money, and the town should be recycling or picking up less trash if more people are recycling. So there should be a kind of a payback there. So some quick comments, and look forward to more discussion on this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online with their hand up?
Not the minute.
No, all right, then we will move on with our agenda. Thank you. The next item is the finance director's report.
We didn't approve the other minute.
No, we didn't. We moved it to the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay, yeah. Because it needed Lars, but you. Okay, so included in your packet are the traditional monthly reports on the year to date and the forecasts and such. Leslie is online, but as you know, she's also on leave. But if you have a particular focused question about something, Leslie, would you be able to answer?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, okay. Anyone?
Thank you, Leslie, for participating online. Of course, it's appreciated. Is there anything that, particularly due to, the duration of Aaron to the year, is there anything that you want us to take a look at? Anything that, that's cheering up higher than expected, or even conversely lower? Points of interest that you think that us as the board should know about?
The area that I know will need transfer before, there is one department that will need funds transferred from contingency for year end will be the selectmen's department. For two reasons. One, the legal line is currently over and it will go higher than it is right now because of the need for another town meeting this fiscal year. And also the office supply expense line is currently over budget, and that will continue to climb because that department is not, the office expenses that are charged to that department are not just the selectman's office. It also includes the finance office and the public works director's office in town hall, not the public works building, but the public works director's office.
And those will either be next month or in August after you've closed out the year, right?
As long as you are okay with approving them after the fact with the June 30 effective date, I'm okay with that.
Well, we don't have the details, so.
Correct. We do not have the detail. I do not know the exact dollar amounts. I could do a guesstimate, but I'm not, I don't know right now where it's going to fall.
Those are the only two areas that you're expecting to.
Those are the two areas that I know are blatant and are very obvious that will need money.
And we have sufficient funds in contingency to cover these, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. All right, then do we have perhaps a consensus that we're all right with those with the concept of those transfers?
With the concept, for sure.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Unless, like legals come in like crazy or something, then we need to review them.
Yeah, well,
And there is a second legal line that needs the legal, it's not a department, but it is kind of broken out by itself. Vin can give you a better idea of the number. I know it's in excess of 20, I believe it's around $20,000 for expenses that have been incurred by his office in regards to the solar farm. We will have to put a purchase order in before the end of the fiscal year for them, but his office is not yet demanding payment for them because there is a possibility that we could be reimbursed through the siting council. He would know, he can explain it much better than I can. So please jump in, Vin.
Absolutely. So the outstanding balance is approximately $23,000, and that's related to the defending the solar location in the residential zone and ultimately getting the relocation. There is a process at the siting council for municipalities to be reimbursed up to $25,000. So we will be, the proceeding is currently in a stayed position. So that expires on June 5th, I believe. And we will be filing a motion with the citing council seeking reimbursement of the fee. But because the fees were incurred in this fiscal year, as a matter of municipal finance, which I'm not tending to know, but this is a matter of municipal finance, the funds have to be incurred in the year in which the expense was made. So the town will encumber the funds, possibly pay the funds, and I will hopefully get reimbursement in July or August, and then it will be reimbursed to the town at that point.
Do you
From
anticipate it
you
to
or from the
exceed?
citing council?
Well, the citing council, the motion will be to reimburse the municipality for the fees incurred. So the funds should come direct to the town, but if they don't, they'll come to my office as a reimbursement of legal expense.
Do you anticipate it to exceed 25,000?
Well, right now, I don't, we're approximately, I'm calling it 23,000, I think it's 22,000 and change. There's not much else to be done other than the filing of that motion. So I don't, I've been trying to balance doing some under the general retainer to kind of keep the fees under that 25,000 as best I can.
Anyone else? Questions about where we're going? Okay. The next item under the finance director's report to set the pension contribution rate for part-time eligible employees. Remember, we had discussed that we now have to include them. All right, Leslie?
Yes,
On the part-time employees,
correct.
mention any comments or recommendation or?
I would recommend a 3.5% contribution.
Okay.
And I would, by the change in the law, we have to start contributing in calendar year 2025. It does not specify if that is with hours starting in 2025 or prior to that. So I would recommend that we start with the July 1st, with the new fiscal year. Right now, we make the contributions twice a year. We make them around January 15th and July 15th, and it is for the 6 months prior to.
Okay, all right, so you're recommending that's effective with the new fiscal year, we would incur a 3.5%, and that the first payment would be in January of 2025. Is that correct?
Correct, and it would be for the hours worked July 1st through December 31st.
Could I have a motion to that effect so that we can discuss? I'll move that. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Okay. Discussion?
Leslie, I thought we talked about more frequent intervals of payment for contributions. And it wasn't specifically about part-time employees, it was about full-time employees, but
We did.
Okay.
We did discuss it, and right now, the plan was written the same way the old plan was, which was with a twice-a-year contribution. Jen and I can look into modifying that agreement. It will take us a little time, but it's up to you. I mean, we can see if it's an option and and what it would take for Vanguard to be on board to make that adjustment. The employees that contribute do have their monies gone in with each payroll.
Okay. And there's no need to match for this proposal, right?
There is no need for a match, no.
What does everyone think about 3.5? I think it's a nice
I-
bonus, a benefit for part-time employees.
It's, it applies to those who have 500 hours, have
Right.
had cumulative 500 hours. It's rather interesting. Because until they hit 500 hours, I don't believe it trips. Right, and it's not retroactive, right,
Total?
Leslie?
It is not, it is,
I mean, the payments or
no,
contributions
we're
are
not,
not
we're
for
not going to do
retroactive.
it retroactive. But what we will be doing is we would be setting it up for all those that are considered permanent part-time employees. Example, our 2 building officials are part-time. They are permanent part-time people. And this would directly benefit them.
Okay.
So they have to work 500 hours each year? Or
We
once
are,
they work
we are,
500,
well, we
they're in-
can do it for more, but anyone who has worked 500 hours must be eligible.
but is that annually, or is it once you work 500
I
hours?
believe it's once you work
Mhm.
500 hours.
So the next year, if you work 20 hours, you're still in?
Mhm. But we want to make the permanent part-time people as of right and
Right.
eligible.
Basically keep Parks and Rec seasonal people out.
Yeah, well,
Correct.
the record keeping would be just about impossible. Not impossible, but possibly not feasible at this point in time to go back and find everybody.
And is this in the budget right now, Leslie?
Yes, it was budgeted.
At this rate?
Correct.
All right. Any more discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
Right?
Okay. There we go. Okay, the next part. Oops. What is that? No, I'm looking at the right agenda. The municipal solid waste / recycle recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. For, I'm sure everybody's aware of what happened at the town meeting. And what Leslie has provided us with here is actually, you could call it 2 options, you could call it 3 options. So the first one is lists all of the costs required to reboot essentially the recycling center. It should be the first loose piece in your packet. In your packet. Okay, so it includes, in addition to the 3 lines in the solid waste portion of the budget, there are also the employee benefits lines, the medical insurance, social security, and the investment account, the retirement account.
I'm sorry. We're gonna have to slow down just so I
Okay.
fully understand.
Okay, do you have it in front of you?
I know I
Okay.
do. I just don't, I think it's called recycling center reboot.
Reboot.
What
So-
is the underlying assumption with what
Okay.
we're planning to do with this?
There
action?
we're going to keep it open 5 days a week. So the employee that was going to be laid off would not be laid off. We had to increase the recycling tipping fees because we do not get anything yet at this point in time for our recycling. So we would have, we're anticipating there will be more recycling and therefore we would have higher tipping fees until we can make other arrangements. What was not immediately obvious was the additional personnel costs, the employee benefits that would also be involved in putting this full-time employee back on the payroll. And that's what those first 3 lines are. Okay. So that's a total of 181,970. The second part of it is primarily, and well, I think it's primarily an informational thing. If we were just to add back the single stream, it would be adding back the 213,350 that we removed. The third one is a
This one also, I'm still on the first one, sorry.
Mhm.
I know that you've seen these numbers before. So the solid waste, we're assuming will go up because people will be recycling less.
more. We will have more recycling, presumably, right, the fee, well, the
From the
fees are going
recycling
up, and
center.
presumably the recycling center is going to make some kind of attempt to get more people to recycle to make this work, right?
Can I jump in there real quick?
Yep.
So the disposal tipping fees, there's with Bridgeport, Wheelabrator, whatever the company name is now, there's a roughly 20-something% increase in tipping fees. We had figured when we figured going to single stream, because of the raise in recycling, the tipping fees would stay the same. Because we 20% more recycling or whatever you want to call it. But now because we're going back to staying, if we stay the same it is, we have to presume that nothing changes, status quo, same amount of garbage, same amount of everything.
Yeah.
So our tipping fees are going up 24%, 20-something%.
21 point something.
So
if
the
everything
tipping
stays the
fees
same,
themselves
tipping
are
fees
going
themselves
up.
are
Yes.
21.
Yeah.
We had hoped by going to single stream that we would drop our tonnage down
I totally
and keep
understand.
it the same.
But now without the curbside, we will have
Higher fees because we have to pay for the recycling to be
more
taken.
tonnage. Yeah,
Yes.
more tonnage. Yeah.
Well, same
Ac-
tonnage is
same.
21% increase.
Actually, no,
in
it's the
fee.
same tonnage, but it's at a higher rate.
Okay.
No, I
Alright.
actually understand what you're saying. It's just, I'm not articulating it well. Okay. But our plan before was assuming reduced tonnage because of
Increased
the,
recycling.
because of the increased curbside recycling. Okay. So the current, okay, so I understand this first scenario. Thank you for
Okay.
taking the time to walk me through it.
Then the third one,
Well, what's the second one?
oh, the second one is just if we were to put back in the single stream only, that would be the 213,601 that was removed.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Then the third one down here is in an attempt to get more information and try to meet everyone's needs, including strong pressure from DEEP, both to do something that is compliant and to get more out of the solid waste stream and more recycling. The third one includes putting back, adding the single stream, but keeping the recycling center open. With the objective that for 1 year, we can watch and see what happens, then have actual local data, see how people are handling it. And at the same time, potentially pursue purchasers of the glass and cardboard that we're currently getting at the recycling center, because we don't have time to do that right now. And we're paying people to haul it away. So this would essentially give us both so that we can evaluate both
But this was the original budget.
No,
So everybody would get a recycling bin,
everyone would get a
even if they're
recycling.
never gonna use it. Cause that's kind of a waste of money. Cause I will never use it,
Okay,
so why? would
I'm
you give
sure
one?
that something could be worked out, so that something else could be done with that. I don't know, I'm not on that end of it, of how the contract is negotiated or worked. What we were trying to do is give us something that DEEP would support. They actually said they were fine with us offering both, that it would meet everybody's needs. They did point out that single stream recycling is the norm in the state. The norm. So this is it's just an option. I'm sorry, public comment is.
So I know you said it was a reboot, thank you for articulating that. Can you explain to me how the reboot?
Okay,
It's just adding the recycling center, so it's a more expensive option than the original budget.
It's-
I think.
yes, it's
original
more expensive than the original budget.
Mhm.
It's more expensive than just rebooting the recycling center
Yeah.
because it adds on the single stream. But the single stream is not costing, the whole thing is not costing as much. Because RWS would be taking some of the recycling, so we wouldn't have to pay tipping fees for that. Okay, so it's I don't know,
Okay.
Don and Leslie worked it out, and any
So-
comments on that, Don?
No, we'll do, like Sharon said, it would include curbside and keep the recycling center open for at least a year and we'll see what happens.
It,
Because right now, we're roughly half of what the state mandates we recycle. We're about 17% of the state mandates. State is like 35%. And we have a state-of-the-art recycling center and we're still at half the rate, so something's gonna change. Keeping the status quo, we're still gonna be at half, unless something magically happens and people say, oh, maybe I should start recycling.
Don, what
Which we
about
don't say.
does that includes the recycling center, yet I, as well as other folks in town, pay to have recycling picked up? Can you include that data in your?
That we don't
17%?
know because we don't know
That's
what
part of it.
RWS picks.
Yeah,
see,
but we could ask them to provide that information.
but
I mean,
the
I
whole
understand it's
point
private.
is to acquire the data over the next year and then be able to make an educated decision about where we can go and to potentially make arrangements for the cardboard and the glass at the recycling center. DEP gave us information about a source to recycle, potentially recycle the glass.
Yes, and as far as numbers, we know what happened last year as far as tonnage and recycling. We don't know this year until the end of the year. So we don't know if RWS picking up single stream at the house is gonna make any difference at recycling center. My guess is it's gonna be less recycling at recycling center, because if you guys are recycling at home, you're not coming to recycling center, which you used to do. Nobody else is coming just because. You know, so instead of you bringing it, they're taking it. So it would take another 6-8 months. I think we get our reports in January, February. For the previous year as far as tonnage and things like that.
So I think the voice from the finance meeting was clear from the town that they want the recycling center open. So I don't think that. And it shows here, you know, all the plans sort of involve the recycling center. So I think that is, in my opinion, that's the appropriate choice. I'm not sure if putting curbside back in, I don't think putting curbside and the recycling center is the right option. While I know we can collect data, which I do love, I love data, so that's great. Who's the committee that's gonna go investigate? Like, I just feel if we'd be quicker to act if we didn't have the luxury of curbside pickup that we could rely on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll have more drive to do it, to drive change, to make it happen.
We don't know. That the situation is that we don't know. We have no hard data about what people do in Bethany, other than that we only get 17% at the recycling center. And reducing what goes into the trash buckets is important. And it would be presumably more convenient and easier for people to recycle, obviously, if they had the bin. But if people are motivated recyclers, they can still come to the recycling center.
Can I just
Yes.
simply add just to the legal side of it is this body, the question for, I guess, as a matter of policy, since the law requires if you have curbside MSW, you must have curbside recycling. Do you want to, the town meeting can reject and do whatever it wants, but as a matter of your leadership role on this board, do you want to recommend something that is not compliant with the law? Yeah, that's up to this board, but, ultimately, whatever you recommend, the town meeting can accept or reject, that's that body's right. But, ultimately, if there's ever someone coming back from the state, all you can do is make recommendations to the town meeting. And the question is, should you be compliant with the law or not? And that's just a question for you to answer, as a body. And I just throw that out there, not, as a lawyer, I could only recommend that you comply with the law. There doesn't appear to be punitive abilities on the part of but that could change with legislation. So, but I think you kind of have to start from that. What are we obligated to do?
Yes, and
No,
we have an obligation to present a budget that the town will approve.
Right.
So
Well-
this topic is receiving a lot of bipartisan
Yes.
opposition, interest, shall we say.
Interest.
So, I agree with what you're saying. However, it's futile to continue to pass a budget that will never get approved by the town. We'll never proceed in any garbage collection, because right now I know several folks standing behind me suggested stick with the status quo. However, we have no contract at the end of our fiscal year. So we can't just continue because we don't have a contract. So we got to do something that
We have to,
can
we have
get
to do something.
funded.
They can, and are, I think, at their meeting tomorrow night, they're going to be providing that we pass something on to the Board of Selectmen. Tomorrow night, they'll schedule a town meeting for the end of June, so that it'll get done during this fiscal year.
We had a 5-year contract with the single stream and everything. Has anyone broached changing it to a 1 year of just solid waste? Because I don't know how we're supposed to vote on something when we don't have the information. I mean, if we vote for this, just recycling only and status quo, do we have solid pickup?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe.
Yes,
solid
you
pickup,
will.
we have
This,
yeah.
this
That
first one,
contract is,
this first one
Is-
just
It hasn't
adds
signed,
back the
Yeah.
recycling.
but
it
it'll
would
be
have-
okay for 1 year.
We have not
No,
one year.
we didn't.
We have to do 5 years
Yeah,
with solid.
yeah.
In order to get
Mhm.
the price, yes.
Okay, but it's not gonna change because we took, it will change a little bit, but we can take the single stream out and still have that 5-year contract.
Mhm.
Okay,
It's a little more costly because, the combination, they're making more money combination, but there is 2 proposals, 5-year. There's 3 proposals, 5-year RSW, 5-year recycling, 5-year combination. Whatever you guys choose, the 3 numbers are out there.
and those are what make up these costs.
Yes.
I don't believe the RSW
Yes, that's,
is that on here.
well, it is because of, in the combined, the MSW pickup is
MSW.
already in the budget and approved.
Yeah, that's already been approved, actually.
Okay, right.
You guys
Okay.
approved the 5-year
Okay, I just
contract.
wanted to
Well,
make sure that.
the money's lasted that can be.
Yeah. So, this is something that could go for 1 year to collect, hopefully to collect valid data about what's going on in Bethany.
So this is, they're willing to provide 1 year pricing for recycling, for the recycling pickup. That's, I don't
They
think
haven't
that
been
is.
broached to,
That
we'd have to approach them.
we have to go, if. we
I
have to
think
go
you're
back
making
to
an
the-
assumption here on that. That was,
Well,
yeah,
either
I mean,
way.
he might have to buy, excuse me, the
Either
gentleman,
way.
the gentleman who spoke before, but
Mhm.
that the pricing is contingent on, levelizing the cost of the trucks and, everything in a
Yes.
year. So I think that number is at risk, but maybe Leslie took that into account.
So I have one more. If we do just reopen the recycling center
Mhm.
and keep solid waste as is,
Mhm.
what is the impact on the mill rate?
It's at least 0.2 more. well, it's not gonna impact the mill rate because the mill rate is already set. Next year, it would be at least two. No,
Deficit,
not
it
two
would be-
tenths. Yeah,
Maybe
two
deficit.
tenths, definitely.
Mhm.
And
Because
if we do the combined,
if the combined by next year, hopefully we would know which one we were doing. Unless we decided we were, okay, the cost of doing both is a little bit less than half a mil. Half a mil, no, 4/10. So
Mhm.
it's going to come out of the general fund. The appropriation will come from the general fund. The general fund is at a high level. But next year, picking one of them will
okay,
make it one or the other more reasonable. We do not have to do this. This was just an option because the conversation that we had with the gentleman from Deep, because we had the person who is in charge of engineering, the person Mr. Sterling had contacted him, and he told us what he had represented, which was up there.
Just somebody.
Somebody do just
Sit
a
there.
check.
Oh, there you go.
So that we are probably going to have someone from DEP at the town meeting to explain what their position is. They did remind us that we could stop picking up the solid waste. No, we're not. That's not going to happen. Well, and I said, you don't understand. We are a town meeting and the town meeting said this. And the gentleman who was the liaison said between municipalities and their agencies said, that's one of the problems with the town meeting. I was like, yeah, that's one of the strengths of the town meeting. and the people have spoken. And on the other hand, I don't know. Could we possibly send the top one and the bottom one forward to the Board of Selectmen? And can we bring both of them to the town meeting for people to choose?
Ultimately, the decision would be up to the town meeting, so you
Why
could
not?
present it any
You'd
which
say
way.
either A
You
or
could present
B.
all the options to the town meeting and the town meeting can pick.
That's okay?
Yeah, because ultimately they're the legislative body that makes the decision.
Yeah, but I'm
And they're the ones who are gonna be paying the taxes ultimately, right?
Ultimately,
Well, next year for it.
Yeah.
Not-
but not all of it should be there next.
Yeah.
So my 2 cents is going with the third option. I think we do single stream for a year, decide we don't like it. It'll look silly and probably be hard to backtrack if we decide not to continue with it.
Right.
Also, thinking back, maybe 8-10 years ago under the previous administration, she tried to bring in single stream, and I remember that town meeting, and it was like split pretty half and half, whether people wanted single stream and close the recycling center or keep things as is. This past meeting was overwhelmingly against single stream, keep the recycling center open. So I think it's pretty
Yes.
clear that the town's view has changed. And I would be in favor of option 1, keep things going as normal and not rush into anything and buy a little more time to explore options.
I think I would I agree with you, Lars. It's just that none of the solutions. I agree with you. I think that's in the best interest of what the town wants, but I don't think it in any way is reducing the total tippage fees or, contributing to an improvement in our environment, right?
Nothing will
Yeah.
change if we. stay.
Nothing,
Nothing will
and
change if we stay.
there was and
that may not be true.
Magic people can start recycling all of a sudden. I mean, I hope they do. I really hope they do.
Maybe,
But
maybe
I-
the town
they
has to
haven't.
start being more proactive to recycling, and maybe they have to start,
I hope they do.
and
I really
maybe
hope they do.
like somebody said, when you put your recycling out on the curb, it doesn't get picked up. And that will help as well, because I agree, people put anything out there and it's all gone the next day or later that day, so. You know, if you're kind of force people to recycle, because they're not gonna be able to just throw it out on the curb and let someone take it, then yes, I think it could change things.
Let's hope it does.
Well, where we are right now, we're not allowing people to recycle from home.
I
And
agree.
that's what this would do. And like, the reason, the primary reason that I would like to see this go forward, the combination go forward to the meeting is simply because they were also pushing, if you have the single stream, then what it does is it reduces what goes into the municipal solid waste container. Because that basically that's exactly where some of the recycling is going. It's going there instead of to the recycling center. But if both of them were right there, then recycling would go into the recycling container, would not go into solid waste. And then it would reduce those tipping fees and that tonnage and increase our rate of recycling.
In response to what you were saying, Lons, I agree the town is overwhelmingly for keeping the recycling center.
Mhm.
You know, I agree with that. What we didn't really discuss about having both options, you know, at the time.
Right.
At the time.
We did.
I think we need to present that.
Yeah.
That's an option.
Yeah, I mean,
Because-
and then people can discuss, you know, the merits of single stream, whether you're actually recycling or not.
Then there's the
Um,
200 families that pay to have it picked up.
Yeah, I mean, talking about how to actually get people to recycle more, I'm not saying this should be done now. But if the town stops paying for trash pickup and people have to pay their own way. And they're throwing recycling in, if they're paying to throw the recycling out, they'll find their way to recycling center.
Mhm.
That's the real way to get people, force people to recycle. I don't think we should do that now, but. That would make us compliant too.
Mhm.
With
What
the state.
Prospect does, Prospect, you pay for your trash, you pay for your recycling.
Yes, as soon as it hits their wallet, people's wallet directly.
Right.
Paying to throw out the recycling, but
Just out of curiosity, just to pick up the solid waste, are they gonna still give everyone a bucket and they can't just put garbage bags around the,
I believe that is
that is the
the
proposal.
intent.
So they'll definitely use less recycling. They can't stuff it in there. Or put the box on top of their garbage can with Chewy and
Right.
Amazon and.
The assumption of this pricing model from them was that they could shift to a truck that could have just one driver.
One truck.
So it has to be using bins. And there's an email here about someone unhappy about bin size, so maybe when we're negotiating the contract. A second bin size could be considered.
I would like to go with both the first and the third and let them both go to the town meeting. Because we're going to have people from DEP there, somebody who can answer people's questions. We could not get them to commit one way or another about enforcement. We could not, but it turns out that there are a bunch of other statutes related to recycling that we are also not in compliance with. We're supposed to send them our contract for review.
But when you're not in compliance, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that they called us.
I know.
They called us, not the other way around.
They have to immediately call
I'm sure there were some squeaky wheels.
Oh, yeah.
We're on their radar.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no, they said we're one of the few municipalities who was not in compliance one way or another. So,
And we talk about we can search up. You know, a better solution for recycling. Who's the we? Who's the group that's gonna actually be tasked to do that? But because we've reviewed ideas in the past. And they all kind of putter out and we all just stick with what we got, you know? So, I mean,
Well, I believe the first selectman is once something is funded and certain, she's gonna
Form a committee.
reconstitute that committee.
okay.
That's her intent, but they don't have a specific mission until we know what's going on. Where it's going.
Hopefully she will form it. Fair committee.
I don't know.
I think it sounds like a good Eagle project, Eagle Boy Scout, or
To do what?
promote recycling.
Oh, well. There was a very, very active and a great committee for a long time. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion one way or the other?
Yes, I'll make the motion. I move that, option 1 and option 3 be presented to the Board of Selectmen for the agenda for the town meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
They may not send both of,
Mhm.
well. I think,
Yeah, this is your recommendation to the Board of
Yeah,
Selectmen.
our
that's what I,
selectmen.
that's my, I
Exactly.
recommend.
So could the selectmen then just say, okay, they want us to do 1 and 3, but we're only gonna do 3
Mhm.
and send it to the.
I very
then I'm-
much-
Okay,
I
This is, again, this is your recommendation to them.
right, and
They
then
get to act independently.
okay,
I have one quick question.
Mhm.
If. Okay, so now if one is chosen, that's fine. So we're not talking about keeping recycling open possibly just a couple days a week, a couple days a month, like you.
no,
Okay, so there's no extra fees involved, that's okay, that's fine.
No, that one is,
It's either gonna stay the same or both.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
yeah,
I do recommend for the town meeting. A cost per household would be a useful piece of information
Mhm.
for the attendees.
yes. Yeah.
I can,
That,
I'll also, I'll send over a list to Leslie of some other ways to
Mhm.
break down the cost.
yeah, I think, well, actually, we may not have up-to-date information because back when the per household figures were developed, they were based on just going to single stream. So those would have to be updated for both of these options. Are you ready to vote?
And I'm,
Yeah.
now I'm hesitant whether sending both to the selectmen and then they could potentially force single stream as the only option.
Well, they, just for the body, again, they're gonna have the 3 choices, just like you had. This is your recommendation, if you say 1, 3, or
Oh,
they
they could do
can do
it.
whatever they want. They
Mhm.
don't have to,
Yeah.
right, they could pick option 2, right?
No, not if we don't send it to, we're talking about just 1 and 3.
No, I know, understand that, but it's an
We're not-
independent body, this is only.
No, they could
recommendation.
choose what, they could choose to do
The
no
thing is
recycling,
that-
right? They could choose to have no
Well,
pickup. They
Right,
don't need to have our recommendation in order to create their
correct.
town
That-
agenda.
Actually, that's true. Both of these options completely reboot the recycling center. So that will not go away. I mean, that will definitely stay unless, well, I don't think they can come up with something different than. Can they?
Well, again,
Don't they have to take what we
this
said?
is your recommendation,
Yes.
they can reject your recommendation,
Oh.
right? It's an independent body. But again, looking at this from the aerial view. And I'm gonna dangerously say, why would they? Right?
Yeah.
Why would they want to limit the discussion unless they think that this is absolutely absurd? It doesn't sound like it's absolutely absurd. You know, it seems like the more options you give to the town meeting to choose from, the better dialogue you'll have and the better.
Mhm.
Unless they believe that this is being driven by a very strong minority.
You know what? This is the process.
Well, that's what the meeting is
Well, I
for.
suppose if only option 3 goes to the town meeting, the town can still lower
Hold
the
down.
funding.
Well,
And the town is- you could end up on a hamster wheel with town
They
meeting
could cut
rejection.
out. so you
They could
stream
cut
it.
out that line item. yeah.
well, the interesting thing about that is that I believe that option 3, because it's
They can just
it's-
cut out
it's
the line item for
reducing-
curbside pickup.
is reducing the tipping fees for
Mhm.
solid waste.
Yeah.
disposal.
Option
Yeah.
3, does reduce the tipping fees for
For
MSW
both of them,
and recycling
both, yes. Because the,
because of the hybrid approach using both.
right, right, because the hauler would, his 340 or whatever it is per household includes being responsible for the tipping fees for the recycling.
Correct.
So, so that's, option 3 has, well, that would be really interesting if there wasn't enough money for that. All right, are we ready to decide on this? Okay, those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so it's 4 and 1. Okay, so we will be giving 1 and 3. Something up there. Okay, I think let's see, Leslie has 2 informational items. They're in progress. Leslie, do you want to comment, or so we just keep going? You don't have to.
Keep going.
Okay, and then on the informational items are just this update on the status of the grants. Okay. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, Leslie, I did want an update on the auditor RFP.
Okay, all right, that I am happy to update on. I have a hard proposal from a small independent CPA firm that currently does the town of Morris and other small towns. His proposal comes in budget for what we have budgeted next year for audits. I have a proposal from CLA, formerly known as Bloom Shapiro. Their proposal comes in higher than what we have budgeted. Theirs is a split proposal with the town being about 2/3 of the cost and the school having a much higher cost to do the school than in the past. Our budget would be short about $20,000 to go with the CLA proposal. And I am waiting on a proposal from Mahoney Sable. But I do want direction with that. They are willing to put in to give me a proposal for the cost on that. However, we will be going into that audit knowing it will be done under extension. They cannot guarantee it will be done by December 31st. Most likely it can be completed by February 28th. I don't know how you feel about that, being that we just finally got back on target and got it done within the given time frame. But I do not have those numbers yet. I should have that by the end of this week. He promised me a 2-day, the gentleman who does Amity's promised me a 2-day turnaround on the pricing on that.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the chairman's report, nothing really on budget on Amity. The grant committee, just because I've been sick, I have not even, gone anywhere, for which I apologize, and it's
There's
a-
an ARPA request, I'm sorry.
yes, there is, is
I'm
it
sorry.
under hers? I thought
under
it
grants.
was. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was under mine, yes. Okay, Leslie or Don, either one of you, it's a request to restructure the ARPA grant that it's still $20,000, but you want to restructure where the funds go to, right?
Yes.
Okay, want to explain?
Yeah, we wanted to use some of the monies, you guys approved the generator and the propane hookup. We want to appropriate some of the money to also, when the electrician started digging into the dungeon or the cellar or whatever you want to call it. The electrical panels, the electrical conduits, everything's pretty rotted, it's been underground for so many years. He recommends replacing the panels, replacing the 200 amp single phase panel, the 200 amp 3-phase panel, the conduits and the busways and everything else, just bring everything up to code. For an additional appropriation, not additional appropriation, just
A restructure
restructuring the appropriation
out of the same.
for an additional $9,800 altogether.
So how does taking that 10,000 impact the generator?
Yeah. That's my question too. I mean, where's this money coming from? What are you not doing that you?
Okay. When I signed the requisition to pay for the deposit on the generator, I looked at the minutes of the town meeting and I mistakenly put down capital reserve on the paper versus ARPA, because 9 of the 10 things were capital reserve. So I just made a mistake, put down capital reserve. The check was cut. It cannot be replaced or removed or whatever you want to call it. It has to, that $9,400, whatever it was, has to come out of capital reserve.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, you see.
Because it's 2 separate checking accounts. I'm
Yeah.
not a finance person. I
Yeah,
don't know the whole
okay.
thing. My mistake, I wrote down the wrong thing.
So you still have all the ARPA money,
All the ARPA money is there, yes, yes.
and you want to use 10,000 of it for this, which leaves you with 10,000 that comes back or what?
No.
Well, no, the original amount was 20,000. We gave him a $10,000 deposit. I coded it wrong.
Okay, so this is an additional $10,000.
An additional
Yes.
$10,000, right, but I just want to reappropriate the 10,000 that I screwed
Yes.
up on
Mhm.
and
It's
fix something different.
Gotcha.
Okay.
the other one, when we do transfers next month, will be transferred from. The approval will have to be transferred and set up to come from capital reserve. The town meeting approved the amount of that project. The amount of the coding error is within our purview to change. Okay, it's under the 20,000 that we can approve the transfer, but not the ARPA one.
Okay, but the project that was approved for 20,000 is now 30,000.
Yes,
No, well,
well,
the project is still 20,000, additional work can be done, should be done according to the electrician. Doesn't have to be done, but everything's pretty well rotted out down there. We can still do the generator, we can still do the propane, we can still tie everything in, but sooner than later, we're gonna have to replace the downstairs equipment.
I get what you're saying. It sounds like the project is growing in scope and now it's $30,000.
it is, but
It is.
but 9,400 of it has already come out of capital reserve instead of the ARPA. And if you're using ARPA funds, you have to write the check from the ARPA account. It's a separate bank account, and you can't write it from something else and reimburse it. It must be written out of that checking account.
I think the bigger issue is the 20,000 for the project, now 30,000.
Well, we do not have to approve that to come out of ARPA. We will have to, we'll have to face it next month, no matter what, one way or the other. And we can
What do you
say
mean
no.
we'll have to
Well, we can
face it
say
next
no.
month?
We
Yeah.
can say no now, and that would then release that 9,400 back to ARPA or 10,000, whatever the amount was. But we can't put 9,400 back into the capital reserve.
So he's going to have an. Oh, no.
There are no appropriations involved because it's capital reserve and
Right, so
ARPA.
now,
It was a coding error.
but now we're using 10,000 of what the town approved for something they have not approved.
No,
Well, we
yes,
could approve
but we can
Because
approve it.
the,
Because I quoted it. again,
right, because we already
Mhm.
spent 10,000
Right.
of what they approved from
Yes,
the wrong account.
yes, that's correct. But that's within our scope to approve. We do not have to approve that, and that will just release it back to ARPA. We'll still have to deal with the transfer. Well, no, actually,
You can't, again,
it just exists. Is that making sense? I mean,
Yeah, the money that we spent is spent. It's not ARPA.
And
It
it didn't
cannot be
come out of
ARPA. It will
right.
never be ARPA.
right, but
So
because
the 20,000
20,000.
that the town approved for ARPA will not be totally spent
On the,
on the
on the
project they
generator,
approved.
right,
There will be 10,000
still-
left over that we now are
I'm
asking to
use that
approve for
right,
a
to
different,
project.
yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Related project with different project.
It's sort of part of the whole thing.
Don, I have one question for you as we're discussing this. The cost that went forth to the town for the ARPA with the generator, was that a net cost or was that a gross cost? Because I know there are rebates involved with the generator.
Yes. The entire project is gonna cost roughly 16 and change.
Net, that's net.
Net, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
The generator project. I want to say 17.
Okay.
And you guys approved up to 20 because stuff happened.
Yes, stuff happens, but okay.
Yeah, I don't have a receipt on this one.
Yeah,
Well,
well, we can
we-
table it until Leslie's back.
how did
and we
you
can
find
look
out
at it.
all the electrical was crap? Because they were going,
They went in to start running conduits for the generator.
so why wasn't it found before? When they came into,
They, when I went out to bid, I went to bid for a generator. So they figured, they call it Eversource, however it works, how much electricity we use, the size generator you need, and then when they started digging into it, he said, listen, it's not,
weren't we
it's
going
not,
to have it installed anyway? I mean,
it can be installed as is. It's not unsafe. It's just, they recommend replacing everything because it's not, it's old. It's the-
okay, so I'm just confused because when you,
It sounds like the quote was more like a desk quote based on.
No, I
Japan.
had 3 people go
And
down
they
to
came in,
prices, and all 3 came within $400 of each other. But when they opened up panel to start their work, it was pretty bad shape. They didn't open everything up before because they don't. I guess they don't necessarily have to do that because it's nothing to do with, what they're generating.
So Don, if you didn't have this, this mistake with the coding of the accounts, what would you be doing right now in front of us? Like, would you be asking for the money from?
I'd be asking money from something else. If you guys wanted to do it, it can wait. It doesn't have
Okay.
to be done right now,
Okay.
but it will be less expensive to do it now while they're tearing
While they're
everything
there,
apart.
right,
So I'm probably asking here to take out a capital reserve.
right.
And I tried to figure out how we can switch everything back to ARPA, but again,
Yeah.
it's not doable.
I think what I originally bristled as how it was approached to us. It was sort of like, you guys didn't, it wasn't, you didn't come right out and be like, hey, we made this mistake, so here's this, you know what I mean? Like I felt like I had to dig to find that information. But I think it's in the best interest to do the electrical while they're there. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm happy to wait if you're feeling uncomfortable with it.
I don't mess with
Electricity.
Yeah, I think,
funky electricity.
I think it makes sense to do it, yeah.
I mean, I don't. I just know when you ask for a generator in your house, they check your electrical and stuff to make sure that your electrical can handle the generator. So that's why I was just.
Well, they did, the main panel's fine, but because the building is so old and it was a 3-phase system at the time, and now there's
Okay.
like 3 different panels in the building, and the
Okay.
bus bars, and all of that stuff. So when they finally started digging into it, and again, he can hook it up as is. He just recommends while you're doing it. You know, it's like replacing an engine in the car, but not putting a new oil filter, or whatever you want to, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Stick with electricity.
Don't we have to use ARPA by a certain time anyways?
Well, we have
Or
to,
encumber it?
yeah, we're gonna have to encumber it by the end of this year.
But I mean, I'm sure we could find $10,000 use of ARPA
And this is,
funds for
it's
the
our,
year. Yeah.
this is
I'm
our
thinking
eligible,
ARPA.
so I know.
That's free money. Oh my gosh.
For a while, we didn't know what to do with it.
I know.
It's
No.
pretty much
Okay, all right, would
No.
someone make a motion then to approve modifying that project to include the electrical work?
I'll make that motion to modify the generator project to include the electrical work. Second it.
Second, okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No.
I'm afraid of
I'll
it.
have to slow down my code stuff. But
Yeah,
when
no,
you're
I
40, 50
think
a day, it's sometimes it's.
I do believe it was an
Yeah.
honest mistake. I definitely. understand.
Yeah, and the boss wasn't here to catch it, so,
This is actually the only thing you cannot transfer,
yeah, this is
because
like,
it's two separate checks.
mhm. Okay, all right, so that's done, thank you.
The $10,000 mistake, so it's. a human thing.
$10,000 bake sales, yeah. Mhm. Oh, yeah. But that's right, there's that out there. Okay, the recycling informational meeting, I'm not sure that this needed to still be on the agenda.
I don't
So,
see it on the agenda. What do you mean?
I have,
It's,
under chairman's report,
Mhm.
we're going for that.
Oh, we're down to chairman's? Okay.
Yeah, nothing. Okay, does anyone know, do we have anything from the first select woman other than the discussions with Dee? No? Okay,
Sharon, can I don't want to hold the process here. Under grant committee, I know you said there's no update because you were sick. I'm happy to put something together if you're looking for mission statements and all the things. Because I work with Scrog and I literally just did a meeting today about setting up teams and making sure that your grant committees are set up. So I'm happy to do that. And I'll resubmit that to the board for you guys to take a look at.
okay,
cool.
The last time, I like that. The
Yeah.
last time we met, Sharon, she had the action, but she was sick, but she was gonna reach out to the various,
Yeah.
interested parties and ask for recommendations.
Yeah, but I'm happy to set up
I
like a
kind of-
platform for you, a structure, and then you guys can do what you want with it.
okay,
But kind of like what they
Well-
see as who should be on boards and commissions.
yes,
and
well,
what that
that's it,
looks
is
like.
that we,
Exactly.
it
I just
may
went
be,
back to that.
it might be that it needs to be an interlocking set of separate committees or something like that, but we really need to get something going to get input and get,
I'm happy to do it.
get
I'll put it in
ideas.
the
Thank
form.
you. That would be awesome. Okay, in terms of control issues, the two that are really informational items for tonight, Jen is here to discuss some of the HR analysis that she's been doing and an update on the phone system, right?
Oh, yeah. So
Okay,
I'm gonna jump into that. or-
whichever one you want to do first.
Okay, so in your packet, you'll see that there are 4 job descriptions. I will start with, I think I'm hoping they're in order, I had a little help, so.
Yep.
It should be Director of Human Services in the top.
Mhm.
So this one isn't really, this is already an existing position, this is adding on a position. But 2 things happen. One is that we don't necessarily have the correct job descriptions to what people are currently doing. So that's kind of the first step. So when this particular person was first put into this position, it was more of a senior center director. But the title is the Director of Human Services. And so when looking into that, obviously, that encumbers more than just the senior center. That also looks at veterans, it looks at disabled, it looks at youth services.
Mhm.
It's the entirety of the community and people that may come on, people with, socioeconomic needs or anything like that. So this job description kind of just adds to There is a section still in there for senior center, but it obviously adds on to the responsibilities of what a director of human services is, which is already currently what the title is.
And is, so understanding, what you said and what the title is, but there is a need for the authentic human services
So what I will.
job
what I will
description
say
as it is here.
For my limited experience from what I've seen is that we are currently paying for services through Woodbridge that we don't necessarily utilize to the extent that we should be. We also have some other areas that I believe are from the person that's currently doing the position is not necessarily being able to, she doesn't have the capacity to get to some of those things. So focus is more on the energy of the people who tend to need more hands-on. So this is kind of a caveat into the assistant position, which is the next job description, because currently it was accepted as a part-time position, but the current director is now looking to make it full-time because of the fact that there is this other need and everything else. And so she adds a letter in there of, for her, you know, kind of promoting her position. But it does definitely look into if the board decides that they would like to go to full-time instead of part-time, that it would incur more responsibility than what's currently there. So it would not just be
What
somebody wants to-
services would Jen, I'm sorry, I just
No, no,
interrupted
no.
you, that was so rude of me.
Oh.
What services? Well, first step back, is the request of the first selectwoman to make that shift, or is it just something that, like, what's,
I think,
is it
I
just
think
a
Robin's
informational right now?
asking to expand their ability to meet the needs of people in the town.
Okay.
Correct.
And so Robin's asking,
Correct.
but
I
is
believe-
Paula asking? I mean, like,
I believe
you
that
know,
I was
like-
speaking
I
for
think
first
she's
selectman, but I
endorsing.
believe.
She's
the first
endorsing,
selectman
okay.
is on board with it.
okay,
And then it goes to the Board of Finance, obviously, for any further acceptance.
sure, okay.
But in order to be able to accept the new position, it's a new position for the assistant human services of full-time. Obviously that changes the scope of what the director does, because you can't have the assistant overseeing areas that the current director does not oversee. Because if you look at her sheet on the back, I put currently what they prepared as for the part-time assistant,
Mhm.
which if you can see, it's very general. It's kind of I put bulleted, whatever. And so, you know, that I could not make a job description and put in things like, you know, disabled, you know, folks and, you know, people with the youth services and veterans and all the things that are not currently underneath her purview, without obviously putting that underneath the director first. Because it starts with the director and then took it down to the assistant. So that's really where the director job description came from.
So you tweaked it to
Yeah.
probably
Right.
both.
Correct.
I
So
think,
how many
makes sense.
people currently have these positions?
There's one director and one part-time assistant.
So the director is full-time,
The director is full-time. Correct.
and this would make the assistant full-time.
it would create a full-time assistant. I think, after having discussions and some of the things that we've noticed that perhaps are not being addressed by human services, that, they're essentially just like Park and Rec, a victim of their own success. They run out of people who can do the things that they need to do.
So is this something that is being looked at soon?
My
Yes.
understanding of it is that they would like to be full-time July 1.
And is this in the budget?
It is not.
And so what is the cost?
Well, what's in the budget is the part-time.
Yes.
Is
one and a half,
part-time.
yeah.
It's just,
So
My-
what additional
The
amount?
additional costs need to come from contingency. It sounds
it
like.
could,
Mhm.
it could, or it could be, well, Jen looked at restructuring the other clerical type people, but this is really it's a different kind of service than an in-house, than an always in-house kind of thing. I don't know.
So question,
Sure.
I think it's great. It's just totally unbudgeted,
No,
but,
that's
so.
Exactly.
It's, well, it's
Understandable.
half unbudgeted.
I was asked to make the recommendation, so I want to preface
Fair
that.
enough, yeah, so I know you're in the hot seat, so, is there, like Parks and Rec, an opportunity to assist on the revenue side for any enhanced programs that we might do as a
I-
result of this
I do
increase
not
in
have that
activity?
information.
Okay.
What I did do is I had reached out to the Director of Human Services,
Mhm.
and asked her thoughts on that. The unfortunate couldn't be here today.
Yeah.
But there potentially could be. But again, I think it comes down to a discussion of, is it revenue or providing a service? And so, and I don't know, and honestly, that was, this kind of came on our plate recently. And so I think that it was something that, because July 1 is coming. They asked me to put this together for you guys to have a discussion.
And can you highlight just some of the services, like you just mentioned, that would generally, we would have more of or enhanced as, because you mentioned other folks in town would,
Do you
Yeah.
have something that Rob,
I do.
yeah, this was just if people had questions, and again, I had a conversation with her today and said, we need to understand what more would be happening, and she did say they have significantly increased, people are asking for training in technology. One thing that she was talking about that I was a little bit concerned about, she wants to create a newsletter
Mhm.
for seniors
Well, that
and
sounds
for
good.
human services. And that's where the bulletin started.
Well, if you read it and you can take the picture, like with the little code, then it pops up on your phone.
I know.
mean, Seniors do that. I know. they
Well, apparently people say they're missing, just like everybody else, they're missing things that are in the bulletin. How does that happen? But whatever.
do. So
They need
long.
training on how to
It's
use.
so long, that's why.
Yes,
it
take
is.
it every month, smile.
I know.
You're wonderful, Jen.
You're so amazing, Jen.
So,
You're doing great.
But,
But no, on a serious note, though,
But
this came
technology,
from, and I
turn
had the conversation with the director. She had approached me after there was other conversation, and I said to her, what is it? And I, full transparency, I said, the board's gonna ask, what's the difference between March now that you now need a full-time person? Because, what you're currently doing is working. So why do you now need a full-time person? And there was this, well, we're not overseeing these other needs. And some of those other needs are, like, apparently they're not doing very many activities or anything for veterans. It's mostly geared towards the senior center.
But her
Like
email,
that.
but her letter doesn't really talk about.
And the difficulty is, I think that there still is an encouragement towards gearing towards the senior center, but my recommendation I'm not a department, I'm an office of one. But my recommendation would be that if that person goes full-time, they focus on the other. The senior center is there but the other is not. And so we pay for some services like youth services and things like that into Woodbridge that is easily just marketed and things like that. That isn't extremely high energy. But it does take sometimes some research and things like that. And veterans, for sure, you can incorporate into some of the senior activities. And I'm not in that department. I can't oversee that department. But that was the conversation that I had with her, was that, in order for a full-time position, that it had to encumber more than what is currently there.
The other area,
It's tough because.
sorry, the
Yeah,
other
that's it.
area that's currently being neglected is the youth. We need someone in that department that is willing to tap into the resources that Jen mentioned that we are paying for through Woodbridge right now. No one is doing that. There was an event in the spring, a Narcan event. We didn't even know about it, but it was there. Someone needs to be looking at all
BODAC?
aspects of human services. And that's why we're presenting enhanced job descriptions, and we're looking to add more manpower to take care of some sections of our population that have needs but are not being met.
Right, so this has your endorsement, Leslie?
Yes, it does. And to Katie's point, yes, it is unbudgeted, but I estimate the cost to be in the range of $20,000 to $25,000. That's all in. And it'll probably be less than that. That's increased hours, the retirement option, that's the all-in cost.
I don't know how that is, but,
That would be this year, this year, because the way we had calculated some of these. Insurances and things like that, but you don't have to include the entirety. But I mean, it would be, for insurance, you have, the pension and things like that, that would be true going forward. It's the same situation as the recycling center full-time employee, it's all the same setup.
so Jen, from a strategic perspective, do you think these two people are the right people to implement this general plan that we have? Because right now it's just talking about, let's make the current person we have half-time, full-time. I mean, it's not really doing a,
Well,
So
but there
what
are
I did
additional
was, and what I was asked to do was not to look at the person and to.
that's the right way to
make
plan a job description. That is the right way.
Based off of what we would like to see the town do. And so whether or not you think the person is, would be more of, I would say, the first selectman's.
Fair enough.
perspective.
Not
I-
that we have a job description that can be.
She can evaluate whether or not they meet the
I've been
duties
asking
of
for
the
it.
job description. So I think that is a big step.
Only been asking for like 4 years, I think.
No,
My whole
I've been, 6 years I've been on this board now, so
Yeah.
more than that. I don't see anything for use on the job description. Maybe there is, yeah.
Programs,
Oh,
mental
thank
health
you.
support.
Okay.
A great job. Oh, I see what you're saying. Great
Now
job,
we
Dan,
need
in
more
doing
job
this.
descriptions with someone's name at the top that currently holds that.
No, no,
then.
no, 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 no. No, no, we do not do that anymore.
Well, I think each person needs to know what the duties are supposed to
Oh,
be doing.
yes, but the
Yes.
job description is given to the person, not the person writes a list of this is what I do, so this
Yeah,
must
yeah,
be
yeah,
my
yeah.
job.
Yeah,
I mean, if you ask farm workers, what do you think your job should be?
no,
What are
I
they
mean,
gonna
well,
do?
that's the point is
Yeah.
I have a job description for 16-year-old kids that
Yeah.
work for me. That's why it's about time to have
Yeah.
something like this.
All right, are we,
So, we're not exactly sure how much it's gonna cost for the next year's budget.
well, I think, right now, we are, I think, endorsing the job descriptions or the concept of it, and then a transfer, a budget transfer for next year would be based on a hire, or a hire would be based on a funds transfer. Yes, Leslie, does that sound right?
Yes, that sounds right.
Very
Because we're
messy.
not gonna hire somebody. We are not going to. Okay.
So are we approving the job descriptions?
Essentially,
Okay,
aren't we?
I have no
We need to
idea.
vote on it or?
I don't think we do. I think it's just,
have
unless we have reservations. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, I applaud job descriptions before hires.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
working on it.
Would you like to share the other two with us?
Sure. So the other
Right,
one,
roll
the tax collector slash assessor clerk. Is a slightly modified job description based off the fact that we cannot keep somebody in that position. They last for about 3-4 months and they're leaving. And most of that, I think, has to do with most of those people that are in a higher caliber educational bracket. They're looking for one or the other. They either want to be a tax collector at some point, or they want to be an assessor. And so part of the conversation with Betsy, and the assessor and, Linda, tax collector, was, who would be a better fit for that position. It was, it's more of a clerical position. It does not need 2 years of experience. It does not need to have the first 2 classes met. It doesn't need all the things. So if they choose when they're here to take the classes, fantastic. But in order for them to get rolling, they really just need to have some type of financial background that they can understand how to take payments. They have to be able to be bonded and things like that. And so a lot of the items on there did not change as far as what their duties are. It just kind of reduced the amount of expertise that's needed.
So is this an existing position?
This is something that we're
Yeah.
currently trying to refill.
Oh,
So we don't have a vacant position, which is why we took the opportunity, because the
Okay, so
people we're
this is an
getting are
open-
not
Do you remember
fit the role.
all the discussions about a half a person
Mhm,
there?
yep.
and
Yeah,
half a person
yeah.
here, half
So it's
there,
gonna be
half
two
everywhere,
separate-
half a person.
Two
Yeah.
separate
So
positions?
this is a half and a half.
This is a single set skill set for somebody to do both jobs.
Okay, so but it's an open position
There, yes. it
and it's
is.
in the budget.
And this is
Yes,
the current,
yes,
this is
budgeted.
currently how it was situated in the past. This is not
Right.
a new
No.
setup or anything like that. It's the
No.
same thing.
Well,
Right, I
except
get
that
that.
someone was getting 2 different rates, one person.
Well, and right, so I had asked that the department be accountable for the rate, so that just because they're in that position, a tax collector side necessarily make the same as the assessor. Because we have, in order to be fair across the board, we have an assessor that's also a town clerk. And they shouldn't have a different rate just based off the fact that they came in as a town clerk first and not an assessor. So the rates are based off of the job duty, not, meaning the assessor to assessor, and not necessarily where your initial landing was.
Okay.
So we just separated it. So
Which
when I,
door you walk in the morning.
correct. So I just have it set up in the system now when we pay them, that they have 2 different rates. Or it may be the same rate, but it's the same rate that the assessor gets on the other side.
Do you guys submit timesheets?
We do.
And this person does 50/50?
No, they do 22.5 on the assessor side and 15 on the tax. Now, in fairness, what really happens is when tax time is busy, they do more tax. When
Yeah,
assessor side is we're busy, they do more assessor, but we don't fight really of, oh, you had 30 hours here, 30 hours
no, you
there.
don't?
So on the salary lines, we
Yeah.
just make sure that they're flush at the end of the year.
Okay, to make it match the budget.
Correct.
And there's no appetite to track their actual to see what really is
We
getting
do,
done?
we do track it. We
You
do
do.
track it, but as far as like how they submit the timesheet,
Hmm.
they'll put down their hours, but like on in July, they may do a little extra in the tax side, but then they're gonna do a little extra in the assessor side come, I believe it's October-ish, once some of the veteran stuff comes in.
There's no education requirement for this position? Oh, it's on the back, my apologies.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
And then there's one more, so this one is the one that just was approved in May for a part-time assistant for me. Please say yes. But basically what it is, it's setting up a lot more for, first of all, for me to be able to do some of the higher caliber things that I've been wanting to do. And I'm kind of bogged down with a lot of the minutia of day-to-day. So this person would come in and help me with a lot of the filing paperwork, packets, research, the basic day-to-day things, filing, helping me out with Dawn. Doing coding. Things like that, so that way I have some more time to be able to work on things like personnel manuals and more job descriptions and evaluations and things that we really should be focusing on.
So this is a new position.
So this is the position that was approved in May, yes.
Yeah.
It's in
So
the budget.
in the
We
budget.
approved,
It is in
we
the
approved
budget.
the funding for it.
Yeah, this is just something that I would, you guys should look at in order to for us to
Okay.
move forward.
That's good.
Yeah, we discussed it in December and January.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
put it in. Okay, so hopefully you'll actually find this
I
person.
will find something. I will.
You'll find someone.
And I did, the board, just so you know, I found some free internship over the summer. So we have somebody coming in and doing 150 hours of, some finance work for the finance office. Leslie's here, we have some units transfer, so I figured it'd be a good opportunity for him and it's pretty big for us. And also to help out Linda since she doesn't have somebody for taxes. So they're gonna be hopefully coming in on time to help her out starting July 1.
Okay.
And I'm looking more into possibly some internships. So that we can get some folks kind of rotating. Okay, one more, right?
Awesome,
Okay.
awesome job.
The last one is, the phone system update. So a couple things you should be aware of. I'm hoping to stay in budget. The Mitel decided to send me an, email in May, letting us know that our rates are going up 20% for June, July, and August. I don't have the contract because I did not sign it. Our person that was our rep decided that they had, I guess, left the company. I've asked multiple times for a copy of it because I want to see if in there it shows that they can increase our rates without, it within the contract. It appears that they can, but I don't physically have that contract in front of me. But it may go up 20%, which would put us over $1,000 a month for Mitel for the last 3 months. That being said, I signed the contract, or I had Paula sign the contract, for Zoom phones. So we are moving on that, and I have a rep starting with that. I laughed at it when he asked me who my team was. And so I'm trying to get them up and running quickly, because if I can't get out of the Mitel contract early based off of their influx in rates, I'm gonna try to do that. So I'm trying to get that ahead of schedule, so that way we can get off of Mitel.
Okay, and that was approved at the town meeting.
That was approved at the town meeting, that's not any new money. Where we are.
Okay, the only other thing on the agenda is deciding, what it says, our next scheduled meeting would be July 9th. We have tried usually to take 1 month off, either July or August. But I'm gonna ask Leslie for whether she thinks July would be more important to have us here to do transfers, or August. Or for us to just leave you alone while you're trying to close the year.
July might be early for all the end of the year transfers, but August I feel is too late.
Okay.
And what if we have any questions from the town meeting?
The
special
Goldilocks,
meeting?
the Goldilocks situation.
And then we're
right?
not meeting again until
Well,
August.
we
That's
can,
not
we can schedule July, and if there are no important,
I'm gonna be on vacation.
you'll not be away.
good. I'm gonna be on vacation the last 2 weeks of July.
Okay. It's summer, Lars doesn't get any time off. He's working day, night.
So
So,
if it's hybrid, I could always call.
so Leslie, if we meet on July 9th, that would, just in case there's, that'd help us, if there's something we need to do based on the next town meeting,
Can we hold off? I mean, when will the next town?
that's, I think they're planning on June 26th.
Okay, so then we would know to,
Yes, that's what I'm
at
saying.
the end of that meeting, we could say, yes, we're on for July, or.
Well,
No.
what was going to finish saying was that, if there's nothing pressing for July, we could cancel the July meeting. But if we don't do July, we'll have to do August. We have to do one or the other, because there's a lot of end of year stuff. But there would be, so, Leslie, what kinds of things would be there in July that you'd be expecting by July 9th?
Well, I have requested from all the department heads to let me know if they don't have an invoice by like the first week of July. They were supposed to have told me about a purchase order in June.
Okay.
And I have seen that happening, which is which is a positive. I expect to have a good idea on the 9th where we are. I mean, it's not going to be final. I mean, we will not be finalized, but we should have a really good idea where we are by then. I do intend, because of being out I do intend to reach out to Michelle to get her in to help me a little bit to make sure that I don't miss anything. So that we are in good shape, because the other thing we have to move on an auditor. Because we'll have to know what we're going to do, what time frame we're looking at to have this done, because I have both CLA and the private firm asking me, are we ready to move forward so that they can schedule the time?
Okay. All right, so we should schedule July 9th
Yeah.
and then hope that things lighten up for August.
Correct. I would say let's schedule both of them. And then
We only schedule one, but we'll,
well, no, I was gonna say July, we can revisit if we can pull the August off the calendar.
yes, okay. All right, so we will be, okay.
I'm
Next
sorry,
meeting,
Katie, that you won't be there.
Hey, I am sorry, I will not be,
Yes.
I will not be calling in.
you are allowed to have a vacation.
Yes, you are allowed to go on vacation.
You know what? John's on a cruise right now. You're allowed to go on vacation in July.
I just felt that tonight was too important not to tune in, even though I'm sitting here with my leg up so the swelling stays down.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you
We
for calling.
appreciate it. That's a little above and beyond. Okay. We do appreciate having you here.
Your participation was very helpful, thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay,
Are we done?
we
All right, then I will make a motion.
I'm sorry, we have to go back to the April,
Oh, right,
May,
May
the
20th.
town,
that's right.
the second, but where my agenda just go?
It's
a
that
short
short
one,
little
yeah.
I
pair.
know, what's the date of the meeting?
May 20th, special meeting.
Oh, the May 20th special meeting where we set the mill rate. So we had, Martha, Sally, Lars, and I were at that meeting. So, does someone want to make a motion concerning those minutes?
No, make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Those in favor?
No,
Right.
Good discussion.
No?
my name is spelt wrong twice.
Oh,
That's not.
HUI. Oh, you didn't do it. Okay.
No, but it's spelt right in, for being it there.
Mhm.
It's just spelt wrong when I voted.
It's the German version of you.
Yeah, so,
Okay,
so anyway,
okay,
Oh, yeah, see that.
so with those
All right, with
corrections,
that
I
correction.
will.
okay, thank you. All right, then we are adjourned at 8:25. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We didn't vote on that. Oh, yeah, we did.
We actually did.
Adjourn.
I mean, the sixth grade.
Oh.
I had a motion to adjourn.
Hey, they locked up.